Hello everyone, and welcome back to a new video. I just got home from the gym and sat down to do some studying for the LSAT, and I thought that bringing you along with would make for a good video. This is going to be another soft spoken, just because I realized that I have not done many of those in recent videos. You all already know I get super dry throated recording videos, so I have a glass of water. Anyways, excuse the computer, it is fighting for its life, old computer. So anyways, we are going to be doing some reading today, so yeah, let's just get right into the video. Alright, so we have to read a passage and answer some questions on this passage. So the passage itself is not super long, like 4 paragraphs. Then we have some questions. Alright. Economists have long defined prosperity in terms of monetary value, gauging a given nation's prosperity solely on the basis of the total monetary value of the goods and services produced annually. However, critics point out that defining prosperity solely on the basis of the total monetary value of goods and service. However, critics point out that defining prosperity solely as a function of monetary value is questionable, since it fails to recognize other kinds of values, such as quality of life or environmental health, that contribute directly to prosperity in a broader sense. For example, as the Earth's ozone layer weakens and loses its ability to protect people from ultraviolet radiation, sales of hats, sunglasses, and sunscreens are likely to skyrocket, all adding to the nation's total expenditures. In this way, troubling reductions in environmental health and quality of life may in fact initiate economic activity that, by the economists' measure, bolsters prosperity. So basically, some economists say that we gauge prosperity of a nation solely on the total monetary value of goods, whereas other critics say that we can't really do this because there are other more nuanced factors at play, which makes sense. It can also happen that communities seeking to increase their prosperity as measured strictly in monetary terms may damage their quality of life and their environment. Okay. The situation of one rural community illustrates this point. Residents of the community value the local timber industry as a primary source of income, and they vocally protested limitations on timber harvests as a threat to their prosperity. Implicitly adopting the economists' point of view, the residents argued that the harvest limitations would lower their wages or even cause the loss of jobs. But critics of the economists' view argue that this view of the situation overlooks a crucial consideration. Without the harvest limitations, they say that the land on which the community depends would be seriously damaged. Moreover, they point out that the residents themselves cite the abundance of natural beauty as one of the features that makes their community a highly desirable place to live. But it is also extremely poor, and the critics point out that the residents could double their income by moving only 150 kilometers away. From their decision not to do so, the critics conclude that their location has substantial monetary value to them. This community will thus lose much more, even understood in monetary terms, if the proposed harvest limits are not implemented. So basically, these two paragraphs sort of provide an example of sort of this view of prosperity only including monetary value. We see a community that makes their living harvesting timber, and they are not happy with proposed limits on how much timber they can harvest, even though these limits would substantially increase their my throat. Even though sort of these limits would increase their prosperity in ways maybe beyond just monetary value. Economists respond by arguing that to be a useful concept, prosperity must be defined in easily quantifiable terms, and that prosperity thus should not include difficult-to-measure values such as happiness or environmental health. But this position dodges the issue, emphasizing ease of calculation causes one to disregard some substantive issues that directly influence real prosperity. The economist's stance is rather like that of a literary critic who takes total sales to be the best measure of a book's value. True, the number of copies sold is a convenient and quantifiable measure, but it is a poor substitute for an accurate appraisal of literary unit. All right. Fairly easy passage, I would say. We'll see how the questions are. So, question 1. Which one of the following most accurately states the main point of the passage? According to critics, communities that seek to increase their prosperity recognize the need to gauge the value and ensure the long-term health of their local environment. This is not the main point. Economists' definition of prosperity strictly in terms of monetary value is too narrow to truly capture our ordinary conception of this notion. Maybe. If economists were to alter and expand their definition of prosperity, it is likely that the economic and environmental health of most communities would appear worse under the new definition than under the old definition. No, this has nothing to do with the passage. In contrast with the views of economists, some critics believe that prosperity can be neither scientifically measured nor accurately defined, and as a concept is therefore of little use for economists. No, they never say this in the passage. While they are generally an accurate and practical measure of current economic prosperity, figures for the total expenditures of a nation do not aid in providing an indication of that nation's future economic prospects. They also don't talk about this. So I'm going to go with the answer being B. Yeah. The example in the passage of the timber industry and its effect on a poor rural community suggests that the critics would most likely agree with which one of the following statements. Harvest limitations have little relationship to lower wages or fewer jobs in the community. They'd probably let's just read the other ones. Harvest limitations should be imposed only when the limitations have wide public support in the community. No. The advantages to the community that would be created by harvest limitations are likely to outweigh the disadvantages. I'm going to go with that tentatively. D. Communities protest harvest limitations primarily because they do not understand the long-term monetary impact of such regulation. No. It is the arguments of economists that often cause residents of rural communities to view harvest limitations. No. They might do that independently of arguments of economists. I'm going to go with C on this. Oh, I am sorry. Based on the information in the passage, the author would be most likely to agree with which one of the following statements regarding the weakening of the Earth's ozone layer. Paradoxically, the weakening of the ozone layer actually contributes to environmental health and quality of life. No. The environmental effects of this problem are likely to occur more gradually than the economic effects. Also no. The appearance of prosperity that results from this problem has directed attention away from solving it. Further, no. This problem should be regarded primarily as threatening rather than contributing to true prosperity. Yes. This problem has resulted in part from the failure of economists to recognize it in its formative stages. No. I'm not sure about this one. We're going to move on. According to the passage, economists define their concept of prosperity in which one of the following ways? by claiming that alternate definitions of the concept would not be easily quantifiable. They do bring this up, but this is not included in their concept. According to the passage, economists defend their concept of prosperity in which one of the following ways? Oh, yes, actually A. By asserting that environmental preservation can cause the loss of jobs. No. By citing the relevance of non-monetary values such as environmental health. Also no. By showing that the value of natural beauty can be understood in quantifiable terms. No. By detailing the historical development of their definition of the concept. Also no. The author compares the economist's position to that of a literary critic primarily to blank. Introduce the idea that the assessment of worth is basically subjective. No. Maybe. Advocate in a way innovative method of measuring literary merit. No. Suggest that quality of life is mainly an aesthetic issue. No. Provide additional evidence that prosperity cannot be quantified. Yes. That is the one. In the passage, the author cites which one of the following claims? That hats, sunscreens, and sunglasses provide an adequate substitute for the ozone layer. No. They do mention it. They do mention those, but they don't make any sort of claims that these provide an accurate substitute for the ozone layer. So that's not it. That environmental protection measures are unpopular and often rejected by communities. Maybe. That the value of a locale's environment can be gauged by the income of its residents. Let's read the paragraphs here. That timber harvest limits are needed to save the area from environmental damage. Yes. The primary purpose of the passage is to blank. Argue that there is inherent and potentially detrimental conflict between two schools of thought concerning a certain concept. Maybe. Summarize and illustrate the main points of the conflict between two schools of thought over the definition of a certain concept. Question one school of thought's definition of a certain concept and suggests several possible alternative definitions. No, because they only offer one. Criticize one school of thought's definition of a certain concept by providing examples that illustrate the implications of adhering to this definition. No, they don't do that. Bring one school of thought's perspective to bear on a concept traditionally considered to be the exclusive territory of another school of thought. No, they don't. I'm going to go with B. Summarize and illustrate the main points of the conflict between two schools of thought over the definition of a certain concept. Alright, that was the last question. I'm going to submit. Okay, 71% correct. I got 2 questions wrong. Question 5, the author compares the economist's position to that of a literary critic primarily to, this is one of the ones I got wrong. Illustrate the limitations of the economist's position. Yes. Okay. Sometimes when I go back and look at these wrong answers, the right answer jumps out at me the second time. The primary purpose of the passage is to argue that there is an inherent and potentially detrimental conflict between two schools of thought regarding a certain concept. Well, I know it's not B because I got that one wrong. I'm going to go with A. Okay, criticize one school of thought's definition of a certain concept by providing examples that illustrate the implications of adhering to this definition. Okay, here's the explanation for why D was correct. The answer to a primary purpose question needs to address why the author wrote this passage. The why can fall into one of 3 general categories: to explain, persuade, or propose. The author here is clearly trying to persuade us of something. Economists' long-held definition of prosperity, based solely on monetary value, has problems. A better definition should recognize values like happiness and environmental health. I chose B, summarize and illustrate the main points of conflict. Apparently the author does more than this. They take a position and argue in favor of one side over the other. Okay, that makes sense. Yeah, the author definitely criticizes economists' definition of prosperity by providing examples that illustrate the implications of adhering to their definition. Yes. I guess with paragraphs 2 and 3. Paragraph 3 particularly, the implications of the destruction of natural beauty and the environmental damage that would be done if harvest limits were not implemented. That makes sense. Nice. All right. Just going to do one passage. So that's going to be it for this video. But yeah, pretty nice, quick 25 minutes, little, passage reading there. Hope you all enjoyed. And, yeah, great little study time. Thanks for coming along, and I will see you all in the next one.